lovers, and welcome to another one of Mark's Whiskey Ramblings. And today, the newest Johnnie Walker. It's the White Walker. Now, unless you've lived north of the wall for these past years, you are probably aware of the popularity of the television series Game of Thrones. And in Game of Thrones, you have the villains are the White Walkers who live north of the wall. And now Johnnie Walker jumps on that bandwagon with this new release, Game of Thrones inspired, the Johnnie Walker White Walker. On a side note, there is soon to be a whole series of single malts from Game of Thrones coming with, there's a Kleine Leash in there, a Cardew, a Singleton, and even an Oban for the Night's Watch. But before those 8 single malts are released, let's first take a look at this newest blend, this Johnnie Walker White Walker. Now the funny thing is, it is bottled at a rather unconventional 41.7% ABV. That's a little weird. And in this blend, the heart of this blend, the malts in this blend are Cardew and Kleine Leash, which are 2 of the northernmost distilleries that Diageo owns. But the funny thing is, when it's a beautiful bottle, let's be honest. But the funny thing is that it says on the back that we should freeze it for an unexpected icy reveal. They claim that it is best served directly from the freezer. Well now, I'm not one to cool down my whiskies. I'm not very fond of that. I'm not sure why we would want to put a whiskey in the freezer. Anyway, I remember the snow grouse from Famous Grouse to be served from the freezer. I remember the Winter's Gold from Dalwhinnie to be served from the freezer. To be honest, it was not my cup of tea. It was not my Quaker whiskey, so to speak. But hey, if that's what they recommend, that's what we do. So I suggest we put a bottle in the freezer and we have one directly from the freezer and the other one from the shelf, and then let's find out if this Winter Walker or this White Walker from Game of Thrones, or well, from Johnnie Walker, is worth our while. Don't go away. There. Now then, so here we have 2 times the Johnnie Walker White Walker, one from the shelf, let's say at room temperature, and one from the freezer. I don't know if you can see it in the video here, but these bottles, they look a bit different. And oh, will you look at that on the side here? All of a sudden, the text appears, winter is here. So what they did, and this is a lovely gimmick, I should think, what they did is they used a label with what they call thermochromatic ink. Is that a thing? Thermochromatic ink, which means if you freeze it down, suddenly some new colors appear. Something that you would not see at room temperature appears on the packaging of the bottle. So here we have these icy blue veins that suddenly appear, and the text, winter is here. And when I poured it, it was kind of, this is frozen for a couple of hours now. When I poured it, the body was clearly very thick. When I poured it, it was almost syrupy. I will show you very shortly that it is a bit syrupy. But let's get to the gist of the matter here. Winter is here. You wouldn't be able to tell because it's such a beautiful day, even though it is October when I'm filming this. So it's a bit of an Indian summer here in Belgium. But still, winter is here in the form of this White Walker. So I have it from the freezer and from the shelf. Now let's find out if this is worth our while. Let me start with the one from the freezer because that's the recommendation from Diageo. Pour this straight from the freezer. Let's find out. It's a full golden color, both from the freezer and from the shelf. Obviously, color doesn't change. All right, 41.7% on the nose. I'm sorry, there's nothing here. What is this vodka? There's nothing here. There's a bit of, well, I get loads of grain with that typical chemical sweetness almost. I get some vanilla and ooh, a truckload of caramel, but there's not much fruit in there. Maybe some orchard fruit, but there's really this, and that's what I mean. If you cool down your whiskey, the whiskey will go like, it will crawl together. All the aromas, all the flavors will crawl together, and they will not reveal themselves. Maybe over time, because that's what it also says. Leave it, and then it will warm up a little bit and come to room temperature, and it develops beautifully. But poured directly from the freezer, there's nothing going on here. So maybe on the palate. Ice cold. Obviously ice cold, but That also makes it a bit fatty, syrupy. It's a good mouthfeel though, but again on the palate, I'm sorry, I again get that chemical sweetness and caramel and vanilla, some white fruit, but also here it comes, a little bit of banana and mango and some spices. No? But still, not much is going on here flavor-wise. This is still a bit of a vodka-like, which is, in my opinion, it's a bit of a pity. Maybe on the finish. Well, the finish is sweet and spicy, but almost non-existent. It's quite short. It's gone. It's extremely short. I get some vanilla and some spices, and that's it. To be honest, if there's some Kleinlish and Cardew in here, I'm not getting it. I am getting a lot of grain whiskey though. Very grainy, very base flavors. The chemical sweetness is gone on the palate, or on the finish. It's gone. No longer which was a bit disturbing, just a tad disturbing, but it's no longer there. But truth be told, from the freezer, not my thing. But maybe, who knows, maybe we whiskey lovers, we prefer our whiskeys at room temperature, so maybe this is for the kids, you know. Sorry, no offense, but maybe this is for the younger drinkers, for the party animals, whatever. But I do not think it's for the discerning whiskey enjoyment. It's just not doing anything for me. Let's hope at room temperature, at shelf temperature, it's a bit better. Well, it's much more expressive, that's for sure. Not much better though. It's again that caramel and vanilla. But it's no longer chemical here. This does not have that chemical sweetness. It has that sweetness. There's clearly some grain there, but it's not dominant anymore. And it certainly does not have that chemical sweetness, which is good. It has a fresh mentholated note. Much better. And here I finally get some fruit. I get some white fruit, some banana, but also some red berries, some gooseberries, some mango. Much better. Much better. Right, on the palate then. Not as fat as the frozen version, but still nicely oily. It's much rounder and spicier. I get some cinnamon, some cloves, some pepper. But now on the palate, come on, it's not fruity anymore. It's still got a lot of sweetness, but it's all caramel and vanilla. No fruit anymore on the palate, which is a bit of a pity. The finish then. It's medium long, but the funny thing is, it turns back to that grainy sweetness. And even that tiny chemical sweetness. Darn it. Now, I love Game of Thrones. I'm not a big fan of Johnnie Walker. Well, that's not correct. I'm not a big fan of the Johnnie Walker Red Label. Everything else is basically not too bad, and some of it is actually amazingly good. But this one, I have to be honest, this one is not for me. This one is not doing anything for me. This one is, dare I say it, bland. Kleinlish, Cardew, a lot of grain whiskey, that's for certain. But it's just not my cuppa. So I'm not really impressed with this Johnnie Walker release, except for the fact that it's a lovely gimmick. This is, and it looks great on the shelf. It's a conversation piece probably, but whiskey-wise, contents-wise, the liquid, not so much. So let's just say that this is a bottle for the collectors and not for the drinkers. So maybe it's just good enough to warm up the night's watch when they are guarding the wall, but that's about it. And that's all for this Whiskey Rambling, and I hope to see you at one of Mark's Whiskey Ramblings real soon. And until then, may the malt be with you.